Hey everybody, Off the Mic Sports Network here. Another edition of Off the Top Rope. So, some big news in the world of professional wrestling on Friday as Mariah May was noticeably moved away from the AEW roster page, usually signaling that somebody is departing the company. There's been a lot of reporting as to whether or not she is still under contract or not with AEW. The last reporting from Sean Ross Sapp at Fightful Select says that she still is in fact under contract. That is per her representatives. But I imagine that, like, I've been telling you guys this for weeks. I've been telling you since she's been off television since Revolution. Mariah May is going to WWE. That's happening. Um, Notice the change, like with Stephanie Vicaire and Jordan Grace and Julia and Roxanne Perez has all been moved up to the main roster. And it's still a deep women's division, but Mariah May and NXT makes so much sense right now. But let's talk big picture here for a second, because I got a bunch of heat from a bunch of people on the internet, basically daring, and I had one big-ish account kind of screen grab my tweet, basically saying that AEW kind of botched Mariah May. And listen, I understand how that's going to be kind of a controversial opinion. She's a former women's world champion. She's one of very few women in this company to beat Tony Storm. And, you know, she was presented very well in her storyline, but how she was really unceremoniously tossed aside. And in 2 years, she saw it upon herself because, like, clearly, like, she signed a short-term deal, and more power to her. That was a genius move because maybe she was like, hey, I just need the North American exposure. I know that I'm beautiful. I know that I'm a really talented wrestler. All I need is really North American major TV exposure. And I don't really want to start, like, you know, in the basement and have to build my way up. So I think I have an avenue to go to AEW and, you know, potentially get myself into a storyline. And she did. And, you know what? More power to her. But if we're really going to be completely honest with ourselves here, this is a botch by Tony Khan that you only got 2 years of Mariah May. I get it. You maximized those 2 years and great. But what did that get you? The rest of your women's division is a fucking disaster. So much so that you're going to a microwaved version of the biggest women's feud that you could do, doing it way too early, way too quickly, because you have nobody else left. And I think that there was a lot more to explore with Mariah May, but you literally gave her, like, I think a 5 to 10 year run in AEW, and it did it in like a year and a half, 2 years. That to me feels like a missed opportunity. And there were multiple people in the industry that expected Mariah May to stay because it was like she just had like the money was going to be too much and they thought money. It shows you, hey, despite what people may tell you, WWE is still the be all end all in the industry. That's the reality of the situation. That's the biggest indication of this whole situation and how it played out is that Mariah May always wanted to be in WWE. And she kind of played AEW. And like I said, more power to her. She got a world championship run. It was not a good one. It was not booked very well, but she did beat Tony Storm. She did have one of the best women's feuds in the history of this promotion. But hey, Tony Khan for basically 2 years put his eggs in a basket with Mariah May, didn't really do much with her, and now she's gone. She's leaving. And what do you have on your return investment from her? You get one world title run out of her. You have a couple of interesting moments in feuds, and like I said, you're going to have the memorable feud with Tony Storm in that match at Revolution that closed this thing out, which is one of the great women's matches in the history of this company. It should have main evented that show, but it didn't. But one thing I'm not going to have with some of you people on the side saying, yeah, she had a great run. Yeah, Tony Khan did everything he could. I was like, did he? Really? Mariah and Mercedes never came into contact with each other. Mariah and Britt Baker never had any interactions. Mariah had some interactions, but her women's title run, to be blunt, was not good. Not a lot of great matches within that. Not a lot. I mean, she did face Willow Nightingale, but that was kind of a thrown together match where you really didn't feel that she was at all at risk. Really, the stuff she did with Tony Storm was really the shining example of this whole thing. Outside of that, they didn't really give her anything to sink her teeth into. And it was not even the stuff with the story that they had with Mina Shirakawa. They didn't really even explore anything that deep, which is why I thought maybe if she was going to come back, they could utilize her to get Mina over because Mina was sticking around and Mariah, I thought, was going to leave. But like I said, this is the biggest indication that you need to know that AEW is the place where veterans go to get paid and kind of coast. If you want to be a star and you want to reach the next level and the pinnacle of your career, you go to WWE. And Mariah May, if you pay attention to her social media, even during the dark days of COVID in the Thunderdome, she was a fan. So if you know anything about Mariah May, this woman really genuinely cares about WWE and the product. And so that's part of it. Money, I don't know if it was going to make the difference, but I give Tony Khan at least some degree of credit for, at least trying to maximize what he had. But listen, if you were only going to get 2 years of Mariah May and you knew that she was going to leave, like what? Like, I compare this kind of to the whole Stephanie Vicaire situation where Stephanie Vicaire showed up for Forbidden Door, literally had a short little feud, beat really won over the crowd against Mercedes Moné, and then just jetted out the door. This is just as bad, in my opinion, because you had this woman in your company for 2 years. She's still in her mid-20s and is just incredibly experienced, incredibly seasoned. She just needed that North American TV exposure because she was in Stardom, and Stardom doesn't really, get a lot of visibility unless you're really locked into like Japanese pro wrestling or like, really that type of, if you're really locked into that type of stuff. And she got it. She was toe to toe with Tony Storm. And like I said, my problem is like, okay, you maximized a little bit of having a star in your division, but hey, now she's gone. And what do you have to show for it? Nothing. You don't have anything to show for it. Instead, you're going with, yeah, great. You have Tony Storm and Mercedes Moné and you're trying to present that as a main event. I'll be honest with you. There was much more story with Tony Storm and Mariah May last year, heading into All In. Much more story. Much more build than this Tony Storm Mercedes Moné match is going to have. And listen, I'll continue to say it until I'm blue in the face. Like this was a missed opportunity. Yeah, they did get something out of the investment of having Mariah May, but the fact that you only got 2 years of somebody in their mid-20s and they're going to jump ship to your competition and probably be presented in a way better fashion than they were in the other place. Like, at least with Penta and Ricky Starks and Ray Phoenix, they were there for extended periods of time. Mariah May, 2 years? And I get it. She was a world champion, but you got nothing out of it. And the rest of your division is buried. You could have really used somebody like a Mariah May to really elevate this division and be a star in it. But whether it was money or the fact that she didn't want to be there long term, it just shows you it's a bad, no matter how you want to slice this is not a good look for AEW in terms of the optics of it, whether it's a botch job or not. And and for the record, if you're one of these hacks on the internet who wants to clip off my tweet and screen grab it and take my name out of it, fuck you. I'm a grown ass man. I can take it on the chin. Just like all you hacks and some of you geeks, like the people who support me and actually care about this channel, I know who you are. Because there's 1,300 of you, getting close to 1,400, and I appreciate you. But if you're one of these idiots who wants to tell me how to do my job or clip off a tweet that I've said that's an opinion of my own that you don't like, why don't you at least, be bold and at least be don't be a coward and hide behind that and or screen grab it and keep my name away from it. That bothered me. I'm allowed to have my opinion. And I'm allowed to disagree with you. Because I'm here to tell you, I see it a couple different ways. First of all, I do think AEW did a really solid job with the limited amount of time that they had Mariah May within their company. But at the same time, I feel like they still could have done a whole hell of a lot more. That's my issue with a lot of people who are just trying to rewrite history and basically say, yeah, they did all they could with Mariah. Did they? No. Like I said, she really had one noteworthy feud with Tony Storm. It was a story arc that played out over her entire run. You mean to tell me that that's it? She basically, She basically had a whole career worth of, and you got fast tracked to the main event and being the world champion. All that she did that in 2 years. And now she's going to the arch rival place. And you expect me to believe that you are a place where the best wrestle, and you are a place where people want to go and want to be like, and want to consider to be like the be all end all of this. It's still WWE, people. Don't let anybody tell you any otherwise. WWE is where it's at. That's why Mariah May left this place. She saw that, hey, there was really nothing else for her to do because she got thrown into something right away. And unlike every other woman that didn't come into contact with Toni Storm or Mercedes Moné, she was actually able to survive it, but then she lost on the way out. So, yeah, big story here. But like I said, I'm not surprised. And don't let anybody tell you otherwise. This is a bad look, and this is a big loss for AEW because there's nobody left in this division, because you basically put all your eggs in one basket for Mariah May, and now basically it's down to Mercedes Moné and Toni Storm, and you're basically sacrifice the rest of your division to get to that match. But hey, I'm the jackass here. I'm the jackass who's just trying to give you guys my opinion. So first of all, don't be cowards. And if you're going to come at me with opinions and tell me that I'm wrong, at least have a good reason. Because you cannot honestly tell me that 2 years is enough of somebody in their mid-20s, as good as Mariah May is, to see her walk out the door and one world title run is justification for, that happening. You got a decent return on investment, but at the same time, it doesn't really end up, netting out really well for you, because you lose a young star. And there's nobody else in this division that really has benefited from any of it, because now your top women's feud is both champions. So big story. We'll see where everything goes. I would fully expect her, Sean Ross Sapp says that she is still with AEW. Depending on how this goes, if she does get let out of her contract, I would not be surprised to see her All In weekend at either the Great American Bash or Evolution. I would not be surprised to see that in the slightest. And it would be a seismic move. But NXT's already told you, Mariah May's coming, because Stephanie Vaquer's out of there. She's going up to Raw. JC Jane's the champion. We don't expect her to be the NXT Women's Champion for very long. Mariah May's going to take over that division in short order. So anyway, we'll evaluate that situation, and I will see you guys soon. Bye.